Yeah, let's just dive in. I feel like just introducing you, Andre, to Derek and Elle here. For everybody listening, my name is Stephen Callender, owner of Foster Commerce.
I'm Derek Moberg. I'm the new-ish head of engineering at Foster Commerce.
I'm Elle McSherry. I'm the director of content marketing.
And my name is André Nguyen. I'm the founder of Woodworks Limited, and it's happy to be here. And thank you for the invitation to be a guest here.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 5 of our summer sprints here at Foster Commerce. This week we have a special guest. I'm very excited. We have André Nguyen calling in from Hong Kong. Andre contacted us just a while ago requesting if we had any updates and availability of our boilerplate that we built for our .all Talk, our workshop back in 2022. It was built on Nuxt 2 and Craft Commerce 4. And so we thought we would just talk to him because we're building it. We're building this Nuxt 3 version, kind of the equivalent. Andre's got some big visions for the store that he's building for his company. And he's got some interesting story as well, just kind of what he's doing there. So we thought we would just talk to him, get to know a little bit more about him, what he's trying to do, his interests. But you can check him out. His store is online at andwoodworks.com. Also in this session is Elle. Elle is currently our director of content marketing, and she's on this call. So that's fun. She's a wonderful part of our team and is often kind of behind the scenes. So we brought her forward in this one. This one is also an audio session because my video is not working. It's broken on my laptop, and that's where I had to call in from. So we just decided to make it more podcast-like. So there's no screen sharing like that. We're just going to chat with Andre, and we'll go from there. So I hope you enjoy.
So you reached out, Andre, because, actually, tell us. I know why you reached out, but tell us kind of your story.
So basically, I'm also a web developer, and I've been developing with Craft CMS for years. And but at the same time, I'm also an interior designer, which I just started a new company, which is Woodworks Limited. So the idea is basically to combine interior design, furniture manufacturing with web technologies. So in the process of doing that, I'm able to set up the e-commerce with Craft, and everything is working fine. But the problem is that I'm now developing a 3D configurator, which utilizing Vue 3, and the problem is the integration, how to seamlessly integrate the two programs together. And I just searching around on that and GitHubs and whatnot, and find out that on the last .all conference, you guys actually developed the Vue and Nuxt 2 integration with the e-commerce. So I just reach out and contact you, and I kind of like exactly what your company motto said, is to hands off the development process, some of the development process into you guys, so that I can focus on the product developments and the 3D configurator. So this is exactly what I'm doing right now. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me more actually about the configurator? So when you're building out this configurator, what is it that you're doing? What's the tech involved in that? What's the behind the scenes production, I guess, is really what I'm kind of interested in.
Yeah. So basically all the products are drawn in SketchUp and then exported into 3JS or Babylon. So now I'm still deciding which to go for. And then Vue is actually make it easier to integrate all that components together. But if you have to have a bespoke configurators that connected to the database, the headless CMS is the way to go. Now that we have products and customers database already in Craft, so it's just easier to now make the Craft CMS headless and then integrate it with the 3D configurators. And all the furniture is basically modular, so you can just have one default module of furnitures, and then you can just add each module according to the customer's need. So instead of looking for an interior designer to draw each of the furniture, so to say, bespoke design, the 3D configurator will allow the customer to design their own furnitures. And as an interior designer, I always say that the customer knows what they need the most. Because I can just design a piece of furniture, it's really beautiful, but it's not usable to you. However, the customer can actually make the furniture in accordance to what they need. So that's the whole idea behind it.
It's really interesting. What made you choose Vue for that? Because I feel like a lot of the 3D space is still very like React heavy. Like there's React 3 Fiber and a lot of those tools. And so
to me, I'm just used to that program. I used to develop it and Vue programming already. So I just doesn't make sense to learn a new language. I have no idea about React. I do have some, but more proficient in Vue. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally valid. I was curious because I feel like everyone I know who's doing 3D stuff is either like hacking it together with like manual JavaScript or is using React for it. So
yeah,
it is always interesting to hear people do it with other frameworks.
Yeah.
How far are you in that? So in that, do you have like a kind of a Vue configurator kind of thing working, or is that something you're still kind of coding up?
I'll say still working on it. I mean, we aim to have the whole thing completed by the end of this year. So depending on when is your products be available, so I can start the integration maybe early next, and that's the whole timeline, I guess, the roadmap, should we say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things when we talked earlier that I really found interesting about your story too is like, so you had a little more free time to code during the pandemic, right? And so did you start coding kind of before that? Because you also have another job as well, right? You're more.
Yeah.
You want to take us back a couple years and kind of what you're doing now too?
I know it's always been web dev, and started with Flash. If you still remember what that is. That's a nightmare. But anyways, so I've been doing that for many years. But then I was also work as an airline pilot. So I do fly around, and during my spare time, I just, do the side hustle. But especially during the pandemic, where the airlines are kind of like a bit more quiet with the restriction and COVID, then I just started this company and then a bit more focused on it. So I'm now doing both things together, plus the interior design job as well. Yeah.
Where did you become inspired, or how did you become inspired around the configurator? How did you come up with that idea?
Well, the idea is that like when I take jobs for interior design, it's often very challenging to take a smaller projects because the amount of work involved and the amount of people involved is basically the same as doing like 1,000 square foot versus just to make a cabinet, because you need to remove the old cabinets, you need to redo the paint, so you need to do measurement, etc., and maybe some electric or plumbing works. So I do have a few jobs and friends who ask me to, can you just help me do a cabinet? And a lot of the times people don't do it. So that's how I become inspired. How is it possible to just give the design process to the customer directly? And another thing is in Hong Kong specifically, a lot of the interior design or carpenter that do not know how to use 3D softwares. So they actually would hand draw you a diagram, which is like a factory shop drawings, right? Which not a lot of people can understand, and it's very messy. So how is it possible now that we have the technology, but how do we integrate those two things together? And the project is actually one of the winning, how do I say, competition for startups in Hong Kong. And the idea is exactly that. How is it possible to use technology? Because we all now talking about tech now. Now it's AI, in the past it's NFT and Bitcoins and all that, right? How are we able to use technology to actually do something physical to impact our lives? And this is one of the things that I directed to.
Well, I love the idea. I mean, I'm actually going through a renovation in my home right now, and we do need some furniture built for some parts. And I would love to be able to get online and design something that's perfect for my space and that exactly what I want. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and even though you can use the website, and if you don't purchase it from us, it's fine as well. I mean, we can just help the users to develop a space that they want, and help them to build a dream home, should I say? That is something that I kind of, like you said, passionate about, and I'm fortunate to be able to just find things that I like and just focus on those and do it. And this is exactly why I'm here and then doing all this.
I would say sign me up too, because we're actually doing a renovation sometime soon. I don't know. And part of it, one of the things that I was getting stuck on in the designs was just there's a section where we're going to put in some built-in like shelving and drawers and shelving, and so we're kind of going back and forth of like, well, how high is it going to go? Because we're going to put windows behind it, and they're kind of ultimately like, well, let's just pick the height. And then I get into it. I'm like, well, the height's gonna be based on like other things, so I don't know the height until like, so I kind of want to draw it out, but I don't know how, and all those things. And so like, whether like your ideas like would be helpful in the thing, but that idea, just be able to like, I think you're absolutely right. So it's awesome to me as somebody who would want to use it, of like, I know exactly, I think, what I want. I need shelves that will hold record players or records, with enough space. I need like drawers, all this stuff. And like, it's a slower, as much as I love our design company that we're using, it's a point of friction a little bit, to kind of go through it and be nice.
And I think ultimately, like exactly like you say, you already have you're living in your own space, right? Ultimately, I would like to have AR involved as well, so you can just wear the 3D helmet thing, and then like the Apple new Vision, you can just look at it and then pop it up into your existing space. So that's the whole end goal, should I say. I think AR is going to be future. Like now you can see more products coming out, so people will purchase those devices, and ultimately I think like be able to visually see furniture you want is something that really can change the whole industry.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I know that there are a few companies that are doing that with your phone, where you can like it's not like design furniture, but it's like they have furniture and you can use your phone to kind of like project it into your space. And I was wondering if that's kind of where you wanted to go once you got kind of like the second or third iteration through.
Yeah, this is exactly the direction.
Pretty awesome. So the core of it then, so you need an e-commerce shop that will kind of be headless and allow to build all that. So like you've got to get the basics hooked up, right?
Yeah, so I can spend time to develop the headless version using Vue and Nuxt, but it's just that now that I rather spend time to focus on the 3D configurators and then hands off those the boilerplates, should we say, of the Vue and Nuxt headless to you guys. That would be something really nice. Yeah, I really enjoy your works at the last .all conference.
Yeah, well, we enjoyed it so much. So yeah, we're keeping it going. So this year is obviously not doing the .all, but what we can. So why don't we give you a little update of like where we are, and kind of what our roadmap is based on what we know now, and stuff.
Sure.
All knowing it's all a work in progress and kind of trying to move from there. But Derek, you've been kind of kickstarting it a little bit. Do you want to give basically a brief report in of what's going on with it, and you can dive into the tech or whatever too?
Yeah. So I finally had time to kind of get into it in the last week or so, and so I got like a basic craft setup so that like you can install or connect and replace it with your existing craft setup, whatever, kind of like with the same fields as that was in the .all talk. Just kind of like thinking about it more like a boilerplate than like a demo. And then the last thing that I kind of worked on was getting the Nuxt infrastructure set up. So, latest version of Nuxt setup. Just some like other quality of life stuff that I think we've learned since that talk. I wasn't around for that talk, so I'm kind of learning that build too, but kind of taking what I've learned on some other builds. So like for the record, for my background, I'm very much the like front-end framework headless kind of stuff. That's kind of what I've done. That and the like tooling have kind of been my roles in the last couple places. And so really like trying to give a pleasant experience. So, having ESLint, having prettier setup. So it's just like, that's all ready for you when you take the site. And the last thing that I kind of worked on was getting a really good like GraphQL infrastructure up in Nuxt, because especially in really complicated sites, GraphQL is not user friendly. So there's a couple cool tools that have come out in the last couple of years to like really give you good like in editor autocomplete and stuff on the results of your queries. And we're kind of looking at TypeScript for us, because like in our projects it kind of works as like a little bit of documentation and a little bit of help with the really complicated graph structures, but obviously it's doable to rip it out if you end up not wanting it for your builds or things like that. That's kind of where we're at, is like I just have an experimental GraphQL infrastructure kind of up that like lets you write your queries and gives you some like TypeScript response types and stuff from it, so that you can easily say, oh, this has this fields and that kind of stuff.
What's involved in that for us?
Yeah, so somebody has a Nuxt module for Nuxt 3 that kind of does that, and it just like puts up a little GraphQL server for you in the Nuxt server instance. And so then your front end never has to go touch your Craft backend for it. It just hits this API endpoint and it does all that. I'm still kind of exploring that a bit to like make sure it's actually going to work with Craft in the weird way that Craft does GraphQL. But yeah, so it's just someone else's Nuxt module. But if it doesn't work, then I have built similar things for some other sites, and so I would just rip it out and replace it with something a little more hand built that works exactly how we need it to. Yeah, I think this is like a V4 beta still too, so it's like that part makes me a little nervous that they're still working on it, but I think it's a lot easier for other people to pick up than like knowing all of these like underlying GraphQL tools to kind of make it work. So I'm hoping it just kind of works for us, and then ultimately you, of course.
Yeah, André will be our test and see if that'll be a workable situation from there. So yeah, so that, I mean, I guess that's kind of where we are, is like getting the new tooling and kind of infrastructure for that, because then once that foundation is laid, to where then it's a good system to work in. And so that's, I mean, one of the benefits of having Derek on the team now is just kind of their experience in all of this. So of making sure it's not just built up quickly and then you regret and have instant tech debt that you're like, ah, man, but there's a bit of thoughtfulness and craftsmanship and kind of like with your furniture, probably, like the craftsmanship and building it right so it lasts a little bit longer. Because for us, like that's one of the things that's really important in how we build things is, and we talk about it internally a bit, is like, we want to make things last a while. And so I think getting that foundation right, so that we can, be able to extend it well, share it well, especially it being a boilerplate. This kind of like headless, simple boilerplate that we're starting off with is something that, it's, if it can't hand off well, then it's not doing its job,
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Problem for me, right, is that I don't know this stuff anymore. Like I started the company, right, at Foster Commerce and stuff, as being a developer, and the more and more I'm like purposely kind of removing myself from the code, which is then kind of, so it's really fun to hear the things that everybody's building, and I feel like I'm doing it on the outside a little bit. So Andre, I like that you're kind of like still in it. You're like, no, I'm still gonna kind of learn all this code stuff, and so you'll have to give us your honest feedback when you get it.
And it's exactly like you said. I mean, a lot of the time, especially with startups, we have investors that are actually pushing for quarterly reports, right? So a lot of the time, we just kind of just stick everything together, tape it in, and then just shove it out to the market. And a lot of the time, you have any updates, and you have to go back and do it again. And this is what I'm trying to avoid as well.
Yeah, I definitely The last place I worked was a startup, and it was very much that of like, no, we need to get this out the door today. It's like, if we waited 2 more weeks, it would be so much better. Nope, get it out the door today, and then spend 2 months trying to patch it back on. So
That's
very
right.
familiar with that.
Yep. Yeah, I think most of the startup can say the same thing, but it's reality. I mean, investor just want results, and especially you have a team of people working. So
Yeah, I will say
Yes.
the last place was like dev tooling too. And the challenge there was like you couldn't break stuff. So like you couldn't make changes that like would break people's code once they implemented it. And that was like made that twice as hard and more important to get right.
And it's one of the things about being able to control what like say which front end to work with. Just I can just see the direction of what I want, right, and then just give me time to develop it, and then I'm not. There's no rush. I mean, there's a timeline. I hope to get it out by the end of this year, but if things need to be done, just need to be done. Yeah, that's it. I really have a whole system set up, so I mean, the company won't stop and help hope because the new system's not ready. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, for our side, so timeline for our side, I think one of our hopes is we're aiming to try to get as much done for before .all as possible. Part of it is because we already have a lot of components built, right? They're obviously Vue 2, but it's universal Vue 2 or dynamic, whatever. What was it? Universal Vue 2, so it's not static. So in that sense, and this is me talking stuff, so I should probably hand this conversation over to Derek, but the migration of it hopefully won't be too painful of the componentry.
Yeah, there's some stuff that we've learned since then that we'll want to get better and kind of again, but a lot of the logic should be similar, so that makes it a bit easier. But yeah, it shouldn't be like a just an enormous like gigantic lift or anything.
Yeah. And so here's the other transparent piece for us is, so if we're talking about our Foster checkout as well. So in our summer sprints, that was one of the things, like we have this other thing that we're building. And we're starting with Foster checkout as a twig based solution. So so this Foster checkout thing that we have is basically a kind of as much of a plug and play cart and checkout templating for craft commerce sites, so that anybody who's on a craft commerce twig build, right, can just take this plugin and its templates, install on their site, and it should just work generally, right? Kind of like Shopify checkout, just kind of no one cares about it, no one thinks about it, they just know it works. They don't have to design it, any of that stuff, right? So that same solution type thing for craft commerce sites. But the fact that we're starting it out with Twig is eventually that we need to add that into the Nuxt build and the headless builds, so that we have the same workflow, because we want to embed it with kind of our opinion of things and kind of our research of checkouts and stuff too. We're relying on a lot of like Baymard Institute's research as well to kind of guide us a bit in that stuff. So those little pieces will be eventually things that we want to be able to tack into some of these boilerplate builds. All of that unfortunately won't be probably in this like first round and things like that, but that's stuff to like for us that we're excited to look forward to, is to have our boilerplate, kind of like you were saying, is just like so that people don't have to hurry to build something great. Like we can have a solution available for people who are into what craft can provide for them, and that we can have this, like the whole point of why we're calling it Head Start is it's truly that solution that people will be able to bring this in, and it's a full-on like system integration to get them up and running a lot faster, so then now they can focus on the things like you're talking about. Like let's get to the things that really make the business unique. It's the configurator, it's the way you do your product and sales and all that stuff. It's so it's fun to hear your story and kind of where you are, and to be able to build tools that hopefully will enable your business to kind of do the things that you wanted to do, and all those things. So I'm super excited that you're doing this, and giving us a chance to kind of collaborate with you in it too as we deliver kind of this thing and get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, and like you said, the important thing is, profit and sales, right? I mean, eventually all the business difference, most of them have their own custom products or the technology they use to sell their products, and having a boilerplate is actually make it much easier, especially for startups where you don't want to go to the route of Spotify's or any other pre-built sites, because you need a little bit more bespoke or modification, and it's integrate nicely with like bloggings and etc. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad to be able to be part of this build outs together and see what we can work out with. Be nice.
Yeah. So how about we check in with you as we make progress over the next weeks, and hopefully not too many months, but it'll be, some months, but we're definitely before the end of the year is where we want to be. We want to be there for you. We also want to be there for us. So we both have the shared goal of that in there, but we'll definitely keep in touch, and depending on where this goes, maybe we invite you back, kind of talk to us again. Maybe we'll do an on-screen demo of it next time too. Maybe I'll have we can do a full-on video of it and stuff. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, sure, perfect. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Well, Andre, thanks for joining us during our summer sprints here, Foster Commerce, and super excited for you and your business, and also just to have this collaboration with you. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Hey, thanks for joining us today in our call with Andre. If you have any questions or comments about anything we talked about today, or anything for Andre about his business, please feel free to leave a comment here on our YouTube channel. We'd love to know what you're kind of most interested in. Even one of the comments recently on our YouTube channel had a feature request for one of our plugins, and we've already put it in. That will come out in our beta release for Commerce Reports. So if you have any thoughts, questions, anything what we're doing, please feel free to speak up. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't yet already, sign up to receive our email, our weekly newsletter. When you sign up for our newsletter, you'll be the first to know when we've kind of dropped another one of these YouTube videos. And your name will also be entered into a drawing at the end of our summer sprints, where we'll be giving away one of our brand new Foster Commerce t-shirts. So go ahead and sign up. You can use the link in the video description below, and we will see you next time.